Hello, wonderful students. How are you doing? Hope you are keeping safe. Last week, when we treated civic education, we talked about qualification for election. And the qualification for election was treated in two ways. Number one, in the way of as a voter, and number two, as a candidate. What are the qualifications for you to be a voter? You must be a citizen, number one. Number two, you must be 18 years or above 18 years before you can be an electorate. Number three, you must live in that resident. You must be a resident of the country, and so on and so forth. And as a candidate, your age is an important factor, whereby requirement for age for presidency, governorship, and the chairmanship, and so on and so forth is within the range of 30 to 35. Then you must be a citizen. Not only that, you must be crime-free. You must not be an ex-convict, and you must be sane. No traces of insanity whatsoever, and so on and so forth. Today, we'll be looking at procedure for voting and importance of election. But before we move on, at the end of the class, the students should be able to describe the procedures for voting. That is, the steps by steps that you will go through during voting, and you discuss the importance of election. What are the procedures for voting? Number one, registration by the voters. Voters cannot be an electorate without registration. You must go to the INEC office or wherever that is designated for the registration to put down your name, all your details, your address, your age, the ward that you'll be voting, and so on and so forth, for you to be given a voter's card. Without voter's card, you cannot vote on that day. And it is that voter's card that you would take along on the election day. As a voter, you come with your voter's registration cards that have been given to you. Having taken along your voter's registration card, the next procedure is called accreditation of voters. Accreditation of voters. This is when the INEC officials ensures, verifies, double check that the voter is present at the polling unit. Not only present at the polling unit, that the card that the voter is holding is the rightful owner of it. There was a story that I was told of one person while growing up. The parents took her to their hometown to go and vote. When the accreditation time came, they were checking. Meanwhile, the parents that took her to their hometown, she did not go there to register there. They just want to kind of rig the election one way or the other. So she was given another person's voter's card to use to vote. But in the course of accreditation, they got to know that the person's card the girl was holding was 80-year-old woman. And this is a young girl holding the card. Immediately, the course of law action took place. Accreditation, it is very, very vital. It It is very, very important. This is the process of ensuring that the voter is present at the polling unit. Not only that, the person holding the card is the one that is the owner of the card. Then, having done the accreditation, the voters will queue and their numbers will be counted for them to know the total number of those that will be voting at that polling unit. It will not only be counted, and it is going to be announced. Don't forget, accreditation will be done. Then, in the course of doing the accreditation, the voters will be on queue for orderliness, and they will be counted. 20, 50, 100 candidates are on queue. It will be announced. Why is it being announced? To avoid electoral malpractices. Because the total number announced during accreditation must match with the total number of ballot papers that will be counted at the end of the election. The next procedure is that voters will receive the ballot paper and start voting. You vote by indicating your candidate of choice, indicating your party of choice. And how do you indicate it? You thumbprint on the candidate of choice column alongside with the party of choice column. All this must have been taught during the campaign for election, because your votes can be rejected if it is not well done. Another one is that choosing who you wanted to elect and the party, you now submit, you drop the ballot paper in the ballot box. At times, there are some times that election is not just, there are two elections, it's not just one that will be done for that day. The same processes will have been done for both 1 and 2 by checking the registration card, by accrediting them to ensure that the appropriate person is the one holding, the right person is the one holding the card. Then they will be on the queue to count the number of voters, and it will be announced even for the 2 elections. Then they'll be given the ballot papers for you to vote. And having voted, you drop the paper in the ballot box. We can see the ballot box, an example of the ballot paper being dropped into the ballot box. Then, when that has been done, voting have ended, the voters is advised to stay back. You stay back at the polling unit to see things for yourself, to see the counting of votes for yourself. Initially, while people were ignorant, the moment they finished voting, they took off, they will leave the polling unit. Then the politicians will have the opportunity to change their ballot papers for the one they've already prepared, and they will be able to rig the election. But now that citizens are more educated than before, they are advised to stay back, to see things for themselves, to note the accreditation number announced, to note the time the time the election comes to an end, to see them counting the ballot papers, and to be able to do the multiplication or addition and subtraction to get the actual figure that is needed to be announced. The next one is the total number of votes cast should not exceed the number of accredited voters at the polling unit. You know, I told you at the other time that the accredited number will be announced and will be noted down. The ballot paper will be given out to those on queue. So it is expected that those on queue are the ones that is voting, and their number have been announced initially, so their number cannot exceed the announced number. So it is important for the voters to stay behind and see to it that their number, the accredited number tallies with the announced number of voters. Then the next one is that after the last person on the queue has voted, there is somebody called presiding officers. The presiding officer, the one in charge of that polling unit. That officer in charge will announce that the election have been closed at that polling unit. Then they will now carry the box and start to empty the contents in the ballot box on the table in an open place so that there can be transparency. And they will now start to count it. Meanwhile, all this period, there is time for it. The period for accreditation, the period for voting, and the period for counting of the votes. The next one is they will compile the results. They are going to fill the necessary and appropriate forms. They will give the copy to the party, agents, and there are some other officials, observers, even party representatives that are there at the polling units or at the polling centers. Then they will paste the copy of the announced results in the polling center. And remember, don't forget that the accredited number must tally with the results announced. Those are the procedures for voting. I told you that before you can vote at all, you must have registered. Not only that, they will accredit those that are present to know whether their registered card tallies with whoever is holding it. Then they will count the number of people on queue. They will announce it. They will start voting, choosing the choice candidates and the choice party, submit the voting paper, and it will be counted. They will announce that the voting has ended, pour the voting paper on the table, then count it, fill the necessary paper by the presiding officers. The presiding officer will announce it, will announce the results, and paste it at the polling center. Those are the procedures for voting. We are going to go to the importance of election. Why is election necessary? Why is it required? Number one, election provides opportunity for choosing a leader. A leader into the position of such as president, governor, deputy governor, vice president, the chairman, the legislators, and so on and so forth. It is through the election that they can get to those posts of public office. Number two, it makes changes of government easy and peaceful. There are some governments that the moment they elect them into power, they will first of all want to fill their pockets, enjoy themselves, and they will not want to deliver the manifestos to the people. But the moment they remember that for them to come back, excuse me, for them to come back into power, they required election of the people. It makes the people to change bad government easily. They remove it easily. They vote for who they know that can deliver what they have promised them. The moment what they promised them is not being fulfilled, at the next election, they will remove them with ease, without stress. The next one is that it promotes democracy. Election is one of the pillars of democracy. Without election, there cannot be democracy. And it is important for election to be free and fair so that the results cannot be countered. So when that is done, it promotes democracy. Then number 4, it checks the excesses of leaders. Some leaders can be cruel. Some leaders, they follow, they obey the last order. They don't consider that it is the citizens that brought them into power. They don't consider the needs of the citizens. You know, they do things excessively in a negative way. They have this oppressive nature as leaders. When all this is being checked through, because election will be in process as time goes on. The next one is that it provides opportunity for political education. Before election, there is what we call campaign. During the campaign, each political parties make the citizens to know about their intention, what they intend to do when they get to power. And when all these things have been, they will teach all these things, they will teach the people, the citizens. They will tell it to them. And excuse me, gone are those days that people blindly vote candidates into power. Now, people have been well educated to note what they wanted from each party, what they wanted from each candidate. If it cannot be delivered to them, they will not vote them in. And it is during this political education that these candidates also know or learn about the appropriate column to thumbprint and not to double thumbprint, so that their ballot paper will not be rejected. Those are the things that they do during the political education process. Then number 6, it provides the opportunity for citizens to participate in government. There is this saying that we are the government. Why do we say we are the government? We are the one that puts the person that is ruling in power. That means we put somebody that can serve as our voice, as our representative. That is, the person understood our needs, the person understood what should be provided for us, and when that is done, we are the one ruling because we put the person that will rule in our favor in power. That is why they always encourage citizens not to follow political apathy, that they should go out and vote and lend out their voice to put the right person in the right position so that we can get the right results. The last but not the least is that it has as basis for measuring popularity of government in power. There is what we call power of incumbency. And power of incumbency is the fact that the government in power have already demonstrated what they can offer. If the people accept it, then when they need to come back, maybe they will definitely know with the way people will be responding in voting for them. So it acts as basis for measuring popularity. We have come to the end of today's lesson, but before we wrap it up finally, it is important for us to note what we did today, to have a recap of it. We treated procedure for voting, that is, steps by steps that is always been taken in the course of voting. Number 1, registration by voters. It is very, very important. Without a voter registration, nobody can vote. There will even be no voter at all. And it is this voter's card that you must take to the polling unit on that day of election. Then accreditation of voters, whereby the INEC officials will check and double check to ensure that the person holding the registration card is the same person that owns it, that it is not being given to another person. Then they will be on queue, and the queue is to ensure orderliness. Then they will be counted to know the total number of voters for that day at that polling unit, and it must be announced so that people will note it down. If 100 voters are in one polling unit, 100 ballot paper must be announced and be sorted out. It must not be more than 100. Then, to avoid rigging and electoral malpractices. Then the next one is voters will receive the ballot paper. That means the voting card proper. Voters will receive the ballot paper and proceed to indicate their choice of candidates and their choice party. How would they indicate it? They would thumbprint it. This is their thumb. They would thumbprint it. They would thumbprint it on it. And they must not thumbprint double so that the card will not be rejected. And having done that, if you do that and you did not drop the paper in the ballot box, it's still null and void. So it is very, very important for you to drop it in the ballot box. And the example of the ballot box is what is being shown there. And if in case the election for that day is more than one, you can still repeat the same procedure, but 2 ballot papers will be given to them, and there's going to be 2 or more ballot boxes so that you can draw for each of the elections that will be done. And once voting have ended, they will count the votes, pour it on the paper on the table for transparency. They will begin to count it, and people, the voters are advised to wait behind to check and double check that their vote is not being exchanged for another. And the presiding officer will announce the results, fill the necessary paper, give a copy to the officers there, and paste the results in the polling unit. Then the next one is importance of election. Number one, it provides opportunity for choosing a leader. Without election, there is no democracy. And it makes change of government easy and peaceful. Any government that is not functioning well should note that after the first term can never run for the second term. And they usually want to go for second term. So they tend to work at least to make a good and a positive changes. Then it promotes democracy. Election is the pillar of democracy. Without the election, democracy cannot stand. It checks the excesses of leaders, checking the cruelty of leaders, checking them not delivering their manifestos. It checks them as well. It also provides opportunities for political education. It is during the campaign that people tend to know the intention of the political parties and in each political candidate. Then it is during the manifesto, it is during the campaign as well, they tend to learn which one to vote into, what to touch, and so on and so forth. Then it provides opportunity for citizens to participate in government. There is this popular saying, we are the government, because we put the person that will represent us positively in power, makes us to be the government, and it has as basis for measuring popularity. I hope you understood what you were being taught today. The notes have been uploaded to the website. You can go there to copy it. Not only that, the reference book, the lesson notes can be used, and the fundamental for civic education, you can as well use that. Assignments have been given as well. Make sure that you do it. Remain safe and stay blessed till we meet in the next class. Have a wonderful day.